really looking at. So, yeah, it's very odd because there's a lot of spin-offs and a lot of copies of Jackie Gleason, but he got a lot of his ideas from other people, rightly or wrongly. So
you were describing his relationship with his co-star. It sounds like it was kind of similar to the relationship that the characters had, where he was, basically bossing him around and treating him.
Oh, Jackie Gleason was a horrendous bully at work, and he fired people for the way they looked at him. Like he fired a driver once because he didn't laugh at a joke he told. So he was a very draconian. He's someone I would not want to work for. And there's even a film out called Gleason, starring Brad Garrett, who was on Everyone Loves Raymond.
Oh, yeah?
And it's a great biopic. I suggest everyone read it. But it shows what a horrible bully and a horrible man Jackie Gleason was to work with. They even mentioned clairvoyance in the made-for-TV movie. But it's quite terrible. When Art Carney won the Academy Award in 1975 for Harry and Tonto, Jackie Gleason never even called him and congratulated him.
Well, so this kind of brings me into this other question I wanted to ask about his relationship with another sort of villainous character in American history. He was good friends with President Nixon, right?
Very close friends from the early 1950s. He was also great friends with J. Edgar Hoover. Not only that, he was a special agent in charge in Miami. He would basically spy on other celebrities and prominent people who are in Miami, like the Duke of Windsor, and inform directly to the FBI what they were doing and saying. And Jackie was a very trusted person. He was a comic. People didn't see him as threatening, but he was involved in the intelligence services.
To identify communists, was that the idea?
Generally, anything he could scrape up, good, bad, or ugly, or ridiculous, he would report to the FBI, to the special agent in charge in Miami. The special agent would meet him at private places, and he would inform on other celebrities. Not everything he said was negative, but basically what they were doing when, what they were planning, things of that nature, very extensive files. Now, he had George Carlin on his TV variety show, and he had an episode where he ridiculed the FBI. George Carlin did on the Jackie Gleason show. Now, Jackie showed it, it went regular on TV, and I suspect that was kind of a smokescreen to protect his true, somewhat sinister role as spying on other celebrities. Remember, Jackie Gleason, he could meet anyone he wanted any time he wanted. Laurence Olivier wanted to work with Jackie Gleason, so he had a lot of connections in entertainment and rich and powerful people, and he fed this to the FBI, which that greatly disappointed me as well. Now, with Mr. Nixon, they were golfing buddies for many years, and Nixon used to golf in Jackie's charity down in Miami. And what happened there is Nixon himself was also obsessed with the occult. He had Gene Dixon, the psychic, consult with him regularly through his secretary. This is all on tape. This is from those famous White House tapes. Mm-hmm. You can hear him talking about Gene Dixon and to Henry Kissinger, of all people. He was also a member of the Bohemian Grove, which is an occult rich man's club in California.
Now, I seem to remember Nixon talking about Bohemian Grove and about how gay it was.
Oh, yeah, I was going to get to that. He said it was a homosexual organization to tone his language down a little bit. And what's quite interesting, after he told Henry Kissinger it was a gay club, Henry Kissinger joined. He joined after Nixon told him, so that leads to a lot of, I guess, metaphysical gossip, but that's the truth. Now, here's the bizarre clincher. Jackie Gleason told his second wife, he was married 3 times, that Nixon had come down to Florida and taken him to see some alien UFO crash bodies in aircraft at a local Air Force base down there. Now, there's been much speculation if this is a true story or not a true story. I lay all the facts out in the book, the audio book, but it is safe to say that, number one, Jackie Gleason had a high enough security clearance that he would be allowed to see something like that. And number two, Nixon was definitely in the area at the time that Jackie Gleason says this happened. Jackie Gleason himself would never affirm or deny that he saw these alien bodies, and it only leaked out because his ex-wife told a magazine about all of this. It's quite interesting because there's a lot of debate. He claimed that Nixon had picked him up and taken him there privately without the Secret Service. Now, I did find out that Nixon did things like that all the time. He always liked to skip out on his Secret Service detachment. He thought they were spying on him. He was kind of paranoid.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things add up. Now, I don't know if Nixon was playing a joke on him. I don't know if, it's hard to figure out what it is, but I think that event happened. What he actually saw or what it was, it could have been a practical joke. It could have been actual crashed aliens. That's a possibility. But something did happen that time, and it seems the more I read about it, the more it adds up. I mean, even General O'Donnell, who was a high-ranking Army general, told Jackie Gleason and another person he was with at Toots Shor's Club in New York that Jackie was telling the truth about all of this. So it's really hard to sort out who's playing a joke. Jackie Gleason also solicited a lot of people for pranks on other people.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to shuffle this all out. I mean, it could have been Nixon playing a prank on Jackie Gleason for all we know. But something definitely happened there. Now, you want to hear something really eerie about the production of this book?
Mm-hmm.
I narrated an article by a mutual friend of ours named Timothy Green Beckley.
Sure, yeah.
Who you published with in his your book on mind control.
Right.
Now, I had just narrated an article he wrote about Jackie Gleason and the Little Men from Mars, which he had written many years ago, because Gleason, when in 1962, had sent Beckley a letter looking to subscribe to his UFO newspaper. Now, I recited that, I read it out on my computer, and then I edited it, and I went out and made myself a pot of coffee and poured the coffee, and I said, I better get in touch with that Beckley fellow, who I never met or had any contact with before, and I sat down with my coffee back at my computer to check my email, and right in my email was an email from Timothy Green Beckley, who heard me on Banal of America, another radio show, and was just kind of introducing himself and saying, oh, do you know my stuff? I'm going to listen to your interview on Banal of America again. And I tell you, my jaw dropped nearly to the floor, and I'll even send you a copy of the email he sent me out of the blue. So there's strange mystical layers to all of this. Now, I knew who Timothy Green Beckley was. He's Mr. UFO, and he's done a lot of paranormal stuff with my friend Brad Steiger. He's been around for many, many years.
Right.
I knew who he was, and we're in the same field. There was never a time when we crossed paths in this kind of research. But I just find it very strange, and I don't know whether to take this as a sign from Jackie in the other world or how to look at it. I think it's a good omen.
you said that Jackie Gleason had a flying saucer-shaped home in Peekskill. Is that what you said?
Yes, he did. Now, what happened in the mid-'50s as he rocketed to fame, he was called Mr. Saturday Night. He had the highest-rated TV programs, and he was an ex-pool hustler himself.
Right.
And when he dealt with the networks, he dealt it with kind of a pool hall hustler's edge. He always looked to get a little more. And he demanded that CBS build him a house in Peekskill, New York, and he also demanded that they build it in the shape of a flying saucer.
And they did.
And they hired these architects from Switzerland to come and build this modern roundhouse. It's round, and the way the two floors meet, there's like a spiral staircase in the middle.
Wow.
That comes down from the second floor, so it looks the inside of it looks like the bottom of a UFO. Now the guest houses in the garage, he also had them built in the shape of a UFO, and they spent at the time hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the big thing is, he never really spent a lot of time there. He liked to be in hotels in New York and Miami. The house is still there. I've seen photographs of it. I'd like to visit it one day. But it was in Architectural Digest, and it actually won a lot of awards. But that's how deep his commitment was to the paranormal and the occult, that he had CBS build him a house in the shape of a flying saucer. So that reflects something very deep felt on his part.
Well, either that, or he just really wanted to make those people pay. He really wanted to get.
There's that dark element's always there. That pool hall, dark, mean, take this sucker for what you can. That was with Jackie Gleason all his life.
Well, I'll bet when he was hustling you out of your $4, that was the dark side of Jackie Gleason there, and when he felt bad about it later and gave you his watch, that was the nice side coming out.
Well, the two are always there with him. It's very weird. For example, he was, as I said earlier, he was a proto-hippie. What he'd do is he'd drink heavily all week and study his script. Then he also smoked reefer with these musicians he met in these crappy bars in Manhattan. And then he'd go on amphetamines. While the show was going, he'd take handfuls of amphetamines. So you got this proto-hippie thing with these mystical beliefs. But then, in like 1972, he did a campaign ad for Richard Nixon.
Yeah. So
there's the right-wing evil.
Well, he was probably informing on all of his pot-smoking friends to the FBI, huh?
Well, it's odd. The people he smoked reefer with were actually just low-level musicians and bar types, so they really weren't people of prominence. And as I say, he did that before, like in the late 40s, early 50s, when very few people were smoking marijuana. There were marijuana clubs. A bunch of people got busted in California in the late 40s, a bunch of actors. So it was around, and it's in those circles, but he himself, he wouldn't bother much with the people he smoked reefer with, because they really weren't significant. They were just people who was at a party and they handed him a joint or whatever. But the bizarre thing is you get this like the evil twin kind of motif, part hippie, part right-wing fascist. Would support a union and a union strike, but then he'd inform on what the union people said to him, to the FBI. So very, very complex character, hard to pigeonhole, hard to really get a full grip on. A very complex man who you really would like to put him in one category, but it's just impossible.
So tell us how people can get this audiobook and what all is included in the package.
Well, if you go to williamhkennedy.com, williamhkennedy.com, you can hear the full, it's about an 80-minute audio with rare clips. You can hear that Edward R. Murrow clip that Jackie Gleason gave on the Long John Neville show. You can hear clips from those Honeymooners episodes I talked about. And I also, as a package deal, when you buy the recording, you'll get access to a special web page I've set up basically on UFO history from the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. And what I've done is I digitally remastered a lot of the original UFO reportings, like the 1947 Roswell report by Taylor